Hello everyone. It's Ariane the Alchemist. I'm an astrologer and many other things. And today I want to talk a little bit about the Pisces Sagittarius square in astrology, what it is, what does it mean, etc. I feel inspired to talk about this today because I'm personally experiencing an outer planet, Saturn, currently in Pisces, forming a tight square to some of my natal placements in Sagittarius, and I'm very much observing this tension and conflict of this squaring aspect in my life and in the people that I interact with, and what kind of people I happen to stumble upon, and what conversations I have with them. And so I feel like this is very present right now in my life. And astrology, it is both something you study theoretically and something that you experience on your own. And every single time I experience a certain aspect or transit or something, or us, the world, we experience something, it just teaches me more about it, helps me understand a bit better. And that in itself feels very Sagittarian, right? Learning through firsthand experience. So what is the square, and why does it tend to be natural conflict between the signs of Pisces and Sagittarius? If you're listening because you are a Pisces or Sagittarius, or you have those placements, and perhaps you have the aspects of the square between them in your own birth chart, or you have placements in one and the other, and you are around people who have placements with the other, and you're curious about that relationship. Well, let me clarify first of all that in this video I'm going to be talking about the signs as archetypes, not as people. I always do this, but just in case someone listening is new to what I do, every single individual has every single sign in their natal chart, just to a different extent. And so think of it not as I'm one of the two and someone else is the other, but those two coexist within me and other people as well, okay? And the thing is, on the zodiac wheel, every sign has a natural relationship with the other depending on the distance between the two, the aspect, which is the geometric angle between them. And the 90-degree angle is what we call the square in astrology, and it is an aspect of tension and conflict. Often when I do birth chart readings of individuals, I find that squares denote an inner conflict between two planets, whereas oppositions, which is the 180-degree angle, that is also a hard angle, as we call it, I find that often manifests more outwardly with other people. But so the signs of Pisces and Sagittarius are 90 degrees apart on the zodiac wheel, so they form a natural square with one another. To have planets in your birth chart that are squaring each other, and to really feel that tension, they have to be within an orb of up to 10 degrees, and the closer they are to being exactly 90 degrees apart, the more you'll feel that tension. But yes, so Sagittarius, they are both mutable signs. They have the same modality. Sagittarius also squares Virgo, and I actually have made another video about the Sagittarius Virgo square a few years ago. I think it's on my channel. You can check it out. But Sagittarius and Pisces, the reason why two signs square each other typically is because they have a very different outlook on life, on how to live your life, on what is important in life as well. And so they tend to struggle to understand each other. And it's not a struggle to understand each other to the point where we don't even want to interact with one another, which is more the quincunx, which Sagittarius has with Cancer and Taurus, but in Pisces with Leo and Libra. But it is the type of difficulty to understand each other where we want to fight about it. We want to argue about it because we very actively clash with one another. And so Sagittarius is a fire sign, Pisces is a water sign. And another thing that's really interesting about this combo, this duo here, is that using traditional rulerships, they were both ruled by Jupiter. by the same planet. So how can two signs that are ruled by the same planet be so different from one another and have so much conflict with one another, right? Also, just because they have a natural square does not mean that it's impossible for Sagittarius energy and Pisces energy to ever be cordial or understand each other or, sympathizing with each other. Of course they can. And of course you can work through a lot of the difficulty of those aspects in your own birth chart if you have them, or if you clash with people who have planets in Pisces you have in Sagittarius, or vice versa, right? But so rulerships, I sometimes get a bit all over the place when I explain, but I will get to everything, I promise. What I meant by traditional rulerships, well, every single zodiac sign is ruled by a planet, and before we discover, astrology has been practiced and studied for thousands of years in all kinds of civilizations, which is one of the reasons why it's so fascinating, of course. But in human history, it's very recent that we've discovered the generational planets, as we call them, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because yes, in astrology, Pluto is still considered a planet. So now Pisces is ruled by Neptune if we use what we call the modern rulerships, which is what I use most of the time in my own practice. But I still acknowledge the traditional rulerships. And Uranus rules Aquarius, Pluto rules Scorpio, etc. But before we discovered those generational planets, those really faraway planets, we gave them another ruling planet. And for Pisces, it was Jupiter, and it's the same planet still ruling Sagittarius today. So how can they have been ruled by the same planet if they're so different? Well, one thing that's really interesting about them too is that they are very focused on exploration of the world, but in very different ways. And they are both searching for truth in one way or another. Well, yeah, in two different ways. That's the kind of the point, isn't it? Because what is truth? That is kind of, when you say they're both searching for truth, you're like, okay, yeah, that seems something that they can agree on, or something that they can respect in one another, which sure, perhaps. But what does truth even mean? That's actually kind of where Sagittarius and Pisces clash here, because Sagittarius wants to explore the world, is very passionate as a fire sign, and is definitely it rules higher education. So there is that intellectual aspect to Sagittarius. Not that Pisces cannot be intellectual, but it's a water sign, so it values different things. It values experiencing the world through sensing and intuition and emotions, more so than through the mind. And Sagittarius, in its shadow side, can be dogmatic, because Sagittarius is looking for the truth. What is the truth? There is truth and there is the truth. What is the truth? That is what Sagittarius is seeking in its life. That is the most important thing about it. Whereas the lesson of Pisces and people who are born with Pisces placements in, their personal planets are prominent in their birth chart, is to understand that in life there is truth in everything. There is truth in everyone. And also that truth can absolutely be very subjective. Pisces, being connected to emotions and being a sign that easily empathizes with others, understands this, that what is true for me, if I put myself in the shoes of someone who has different experiences of life, something else can be true. And also there can be some sort of peace found in the fact that there is truth in everything. Whereas if you say that to Sagittarius finds that very frustrating. Sagittarius thinks that is not a satisfactory answer to the initial question of what is the truth. Because if there's truth in everything, doesn't that mean that everything is false? Doesn't it mean that the truth is meaningless? And what is more important to Sagittarius besides truth than meaning? Something meaningful, something of substance. That's very, very important to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius will explore life and learn about life with an end goal in mind, because, you know, it's the archer that lets go of the arrow. And where does the arrow land? Sagittarius does want to, of course, it's the experience of like the process of it, but Sagittarius does want to know, where does the arrow land? Whereas Pisces kind of understands that that's not the point. And, you know, I'm not going to say which one is right because that's not the point. Haha. And I'm just describing archetypes here. But I think this is very, very interesting. And I really feel like when I put it into words like this, like for myself before I started recording this, I was like, yes, this feels like the core conflict and difference between Sagittarius and Pisces as signs. And as I said, we both have Sagittarius and Pisces within us. So we will both experience and we get to live out both of those perspectives, which I think is really exciting and we should take advantage of. And, you know, if you have more stuff in Sagittarius, you might relate more to Sagittarius, and more stuff in Pisces, you might relate more to the Piscean way. But, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say besides that. I feel like it just felt like a really straightforward way to explain it. Excuse me. So yes, this is the reason that Sagittarius and Pisces can tend to clash. I do think with the square aspect, something important, if you're struggling with a square in your natal chart and you're like, okay, yeah, I feel those energies and I relate to what you're saying, but what do I do with that? I think it's important, first of all, to understand that yes, the conflict can feel less difficult if you work through that aspect, but it will never feel fully easy. It will never feel fully easy. Okay, I think it's never going to feel easy and breezy and all that, like a trine might or a sextile. And that's okay. I think accepting the struggle, the conflict, the harshness of those two different energies colliding, and not always seeing it as a problem that needs to be permanently solved, is a big step in working through that square aspect, that aspect of tension and conflict within your personality, or perhaps in relationships with other people. Okay? Understanding and recognizing that both those perspectives have wisdom, have truth within them, have something that is valuable and loved within yourself, to understand that they both add to your life, and to both respect them and what they want to give you and what experiences they want you to have. I think that's very important. And also that we can respect one another even when we don't understand each other, even when we disagree with each other. All right, I think that that's very important. And there's going to be moments in life where you're going to choose to perhaps experience things in a more Sagittarian way. And there's going to be other moments where you choose to go the Piscean way. And I think both of those are going to add to your life immensely. And yeah, I think that is kind of the way I recommend that people experience and try to welcome in their own squares in their natal chart. So I hope this was informative and interesting. I hope it was helpful. If it was, you can let me know by giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing. I'm more so active on Instagram at Ariane the Alchemist. And I also have a podcast called Neptunian Serenity, where I do tarot readings. I do private consultations, all kinds of things. All my links will be down below if you want to give me a tip. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. And I do have another video on the Sagittarius Virgo square, which I will link down below. But I wish you the absolute best. Sending you lots of love, and Goodbye.